And I've been chillin', watching the ocean with you. Baby, up with a slow motion crew. And we up in our cloudlands when people change, but not us. And we just chillin', kicking it, kissed by the sun. Could be soaked to the skin in the mall soon. I know she got the good vibes when seasons change, but we're the same. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding. And I'll be running, possessed by a low, low voodoo. Fired up like a wolf on a full moon. And we're stuck in a la la land. The tides will turn without us. And I'll be killing time like I might be a cartoon. Take it in real life like haiku. I know we got the good vibes when pieces fall right into place. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding. Play me like a bass guitar, simmer down and mash me up, tripping like I'm Jimmy at Woodstock. Drive me around in your red Ford, shivers down my spinal cord. Oh, 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 oh. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Hold on. And I've been chillin', watching the ocean with you. Baby, up with a slow motion crew. And we up in our cloudlands when people change, but not us. And we just chillin', kicking it, kissed by the sun. Could be soaked to the skin in the mall soon. I know she got the good vibes when seasons change, but we're the same. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding, holding.
Yo, what's up guys? It's your boy G. Hopefully you guys can hear me loud and clear. If you could just type a message in the chat box and let me know that you can hear me, that would be great. I don't have a co-caster tonight. We are doing the RaceFace.Pro Season 2 Race 1 here at Silverstone tonight, and I am looking forward to it. A whole bunch of drivers have signed up, of course, so I'm looking forward to a bunch of new names, learning some liveries, and enjoying Silverstone, which is a circuit that I enjoy. I really am hoping that we do have live audio and everything is all good in the hood, because if it's not, you know, that would just be awkward. So I'm just waiting for confirmation on getting the server details up and running. I think we are live in the practice session, so we're gonna go over to quali soon. So let me just double check where we stand. Let me try and see in terms of our server lists where things are loud and clear. Super, thank you very much. Let's double. I get into the lobby because we're gonna go over for. Oh, there we go. Pro Division. Don't read the password aloud. Type it properly, and somehow hope that we get into the right thing here. Looking good, and it's looking positive. Okay, so we are in game, which is, let's just make sure that we can get some volume going for the cars, because these are muted at the moment. Those are now unmuted. This is an onboard view, so that will be pretty loud at the moment. So let's try and see. Okay, the server has, this is not the right server. Okay. So the server's gone down quickly, as all things esports go. Server's not ready for me. I was a little bit too eager with it. We're jumping in too soon. So let's just make sure everything is up and running. Let's hope that the other server comes back up. Check that everything is up and running on this side. Alright, I'm going to pull up my driver lists as well before we jump into this actual race. So let me quickly go and do that from the RaceFace Discord. There's a whole bunch of seeding that went down, so let's just go and massive entry list. Holy moly. Let's see if the server's back up yet. Yeah, we are back up. We are running. We can rejoin. This is a good sign.
Green light, give it all you can.
Okay, let's make sure that we get the right camera angles going. So there we go. Let me just add in a logo here for RaceFace, which is going to be massive. That's okay. We'll have some nice overlays set up for next week. Everything will be sorted out and nice and clean. Currently on board, looking at Jared van Bergen in his beautiful Aston Martin. I think we're going to see a mixture of cars on this grid. I see on the side on our timing pole, you see a mixture of Porsches, McLarens, you see a Mercedes, two Mercedes, a lonely Lexus. We're able to run through the grid order as we go through. So Johan Grobler, Jay Grobler, Team Wolf in an Aston Martin, in a Mercedes, a beautiful black and pink livery. So a little splash of RaceFace added to the detailing on his car. At the moment we are in qualifying, so we've got quite a long qualifying session. Now this is a livery that stands out, and of course to me that will be some something that appeals to the inner love of colors and casting. So Neil Berger, Patterson Works Racing in the Porsche. So ticking off a couple of boxes in my to-do list when choosing a car that I like to represent. A bit of a copper-themed McLaren going to be piloted around by Heinrich Hatting for Silla Racing at the moment. So whilst they're going around, let's see if we can just also pull up some timetables, see where things stand at the moment. So everybody's pretty much on their out laps. They're going to be going around and setting their qualification laps. They got 32 minutes. It's a long time for quali to run down. Daniel Rowe, G4 Sim in a Ferrari. Johannes Grayling, Repress Esports. So a lot of these guys sitting in the pits at the moment. Let's go over to... I need to actually see if I can reconnect with my broadcasting app because it's pulling up funny names, which is not ideal. So let's see if we can just rejoin this thing quickly without having to rejoin the lobby. We are going to have to quickly just jump out of this and rejoin it so that we can refresh the names on our broadcaster app. Otherwise, we get the wrong names and weird split times, and it's honestly just the worst thing. So let's just quickly rejoin the... of course, ACC is not going to refresh its list. There we go. Hello? Yeah. You can get back into this. And we should be live again. We are live. I'm gonna go over to the world's loudest camera angles until we can change things up. And are we back to a fixed position? So it looks like we are. We're back to normal. We're not pulling up weird names. Split timings we'll be able to pull up as well. So this Pro Tier has some really, really big names driving down in it as well, which is going to be interesting to see. I love to see the big names in sim racing fighting it out on the track and proving who has the best metal all around. Obviously, there's mixtures of different communities all around racing all over the place. ACC a very popular sim at the moment. And it's nice to see when guys go and jump into the various leagues. Always good to see top tier drivers together. It means that we as viewers are going to get a good race. And as a broadcaster, that's what I want to see. A nice clean T1, a nice clean lap 1, and 85 minutes of awesome racing around Silverstone here today. So Barry Mayer, another Porsche driver for Patterson Works Racing. I think we wanted to touch on... Oh, so JC Grobler here for Azure Vista Racing. Running around in the Mercedes. Very, very strong car at Silverstone indeed. Paul Gaber for Team Tryhard Pro. Another Porsche on the circuit. Arno Versace. Of course, he wouldn't be Arno Versace if he was not dabbled in a little bit of pink. He's added some purple there as well. And he's moved over to an Audi, which is a car that I've not seen him drive around too much. But Arno Versace, a talented driver, and can do a lot. So I'm not going to be surprised if he pulls out something big. So K Masters is going to be sitting at the top of our leaderboard. That will be Keegan Masters, I believe. Yeah, Keegan Masters goes and sets himself a 158.752. Very respectable lap time. Will be Johan Grobler to settle in just behind him with a 158.7. So just 200s off the pace of that pole sitter. Dian Cup will slide himself into third. Hasn't broken down into the 158. So just our pole sitter and second place on the grid getting into the 158s for now. Then we've got a 159.511 there for Dian Cup. And just behind him, JC Grobler, he is doing a 159.517. So literally nothing between those two. They'll be staying out on the track and battling it out. And we've got Bernard King, Jared van Bergen, Bruno Kedili, Heinrich Hatting, Neil Berger, Alan Patterson, all to round up your top 10. And just outside of that would be Corne Strauss, who is currently parked up in the garage for EKZ Motorsports. He's known to drive all types of cars. We've seen him in Aston Martins, Lamborghinis, this time in an Audi. Looking forward to seeing what Corne Strauss brings to the table, of course. Charles Wilkin, he's out on track at the moment. He hasn't set a lap time. So representing Sarko, what a livery design that is. The Dayglow Porsche with a highlight of black, surprisingly. The highlighter is what this Porsche will be known as. So Charles Wilkin, obviously a very quick driver, out on track at the moment. Will be interesting to see what he goes and manages to set up on this driver grid. Of course, got quite a full grid here today. 30 drivers, I believe, will be joining. So far, we got 29 in the race lobby at the moment. So Charles Wilkin will be starting his flyer lap in just a second. I want to see if anybody is up on their lap times at the moment. So Arne Versace is currently up by a 10th. It looks like he is going to lose it a little bit coming in to Max Beckett. Needs a good exit out of Chapel down onto the Hangar Straight. And it looks like he's lost that 10th that he had coming into Maggotts Beckett. Trying to find drivers that are up on lap times at the moment. There aren't too many of them according to the split timing sheet. So let's go see if we can pull up a leaderboard of relative times. There we go. So there's our full leaderboard time positions. That's a much nicer way to follow the quali board. I always prefer this view when trying to spectate things. So at least there you get a full rundown of the cars, and as they change up and change positions. McCall will go up a position. Max Speed Racing, Morgan McCall, didn't get to talk about him earlier, is going to bail out of his lap at the moment in a very awkward place. Does get back to the pits safely, but will secure pole position with a 158.482. It hasn't forced Keegan Masters out just yet. Not feeling too pressured. Expect these times to improve. Still 25 minutes of qualifying, which means 25 minutes for these cars to go and put rubber down on the track. Dion Cup currently up by 4/10 on his lap time, and he's coming towards the closing sections of Silverstone at the moment. We'll ride on board with the McLaren, and you'll hear the beautiful soundtrack of this GT3 McLizzy rushing down the straights. It just sounds orgasmic, and when he slams on the brakes and gets back down the gears, oh, the soundtrack of champions. I mean, it's not a Porsche, but it's okay. It's a McLaren, and he's currently almost a second up on his lap time. 8/10 up. Dion Cup on an absolute flyer here for quali. Let's see what he does when he crosses the line. Partnered up here with JC Hrobler, it looks like, will secure third position on the grid with a 158.689. Nice quick lap coming out from Dion. Not good enough to take on the likes of McCall and Patterson just yet. Gonna bail out, jump back to the pits, and go and make some changes to that setup. Johan Hrobler, J Hrobler. So we got a JC Hrobler and a J Hrobler. They're not related. They are independent parties. Both of them will be driving around in Mercedes-Benzes to make things a little bit more confusing. But to the viewers, they are independent drivers. This is Johan Hrobler for Team Wolf that we are watching at the moment, as we see Dion Cup being kicked out of his third place position by Kieran Patterson there. He's just done a 158.503. I don't know if these two are related. Let's see. Patterson Works Racing here. I mean, they must be, right? There must be a relationship between Alan Patterson. Yes, Alan Patterson also for Patterson Works Racing in the Porsche. Down the grid from his brother. A little bit off the pace, doing a 201.065 as his quickest qualifying lap so far. But a little bit of a way to do it. And just as we turn away from Charles Wilkin. He goes up to set that qualifying top time, a 1:57.381. I guarantee you now, guys, this will be a shootout for the next 25 minutes, or 22 minutes. We don't have 25 minutes left. We got 22 minutes. And in those 22 minutes, all these drivers will continue to drive around, set times, and you can be guaranteed that they will get quicker and quicker. And that's kind of what I love about these pro tier drivers, is that they are all just so talented. And it's a field of absolute joy to be able to spectate and observe tonight's racing action from my seat here. Sometimes you get envious of not being able to race alongside some of these guys. But on the other side of things, it's not the worst place in the world to get to sort of witness the spectacle of good racing. So currently Morgan McCall, not quite up on his lap time previously, wants to chase down on Charles Wilkin. Will be going out for another flyer lap at the moment. Oh, and it's not going to, it's going to be a bit of a pullout there from McCall. So right now, guys struggling to dial in. What is our track temperature? Currently sitting at 29 degrees, so getting nice and toasty. A very comfortable place to be driving at. Your tires will be okay at 30 degrees. So nice, clear, sunny skies in the UK. Probably a little bit weird. Patterson is a father-son combo. Awesome. Thanks for that, Jason Luck. So the Patterson Works team, a father and son team. Absolutely awesome. Marco Pirelli currently up on his lap time. He sits in 18th place at the moment on the grid. The number 19 Ferrari for, I believe that's Race in Russia, the team name. And a little bit of like I don't even know how to kind of describe it. They've got the rose gold on a bit of blue with some gold draped in as well. Some rose gold rims. An interesting livery choice here. Pirelli. Does he jump himself up on the grid? 18th place. Just to run through our top 10 as it stands at the moment, we got Charles Wilkin in pole position, followed up by Morgan McCall. Then we got Kieran Patterson, Arno Versace in 4th, Dion Cup 5th, Keegan Masters in 6th at the moment. And, what is happening here? Weird spectator camera angles going down. Johan Grobler in 7th. Francis Vogel in 8th. Bernard King in 9th. Brandon Kruger in 10th. Johannes Grayling in 11th. Bruno Kedili in 12th. Dwayne van Skulkvake in 13th. JC Grobler in 14th. Daniel Rowe in 15th. Jared van Bergen in 16th. Heinrich Hatting in 17th. Arno von Mansberg in 18th. 19th for Marco Pirelli. Paul Gaber, 20th. Stephen Sparks will be in 21st. 22nd for Barry Mayer. Noor Hendricks will be in 22nd. Alan Patterson down in 23rd. Amrish Sienerain in 24th. Corne Strauss in 25th. Neil Berger in 26th. Sean Buck in 27th. Sebastian Janssen in 28th. Batis Hugo in 29th. And Mark Ansel in 30th position. So we've got up to our 30 driver grid. Absolutely stoked to see that we are packed up to the brim. Daniel Rowe currently out in his Ferrari, up on his lap time by 2/10. So we'll ride alongside with Daniel Rowe. Going to come down onto the Wellington straight here. Stay 4/10 up on his lap time. So he currently sits in 15th place. 4 tenths up will jump him almost to 11th place there, I think, or 10th or 12th place. So Daniel Rowe on an absolute flyer, 6 tenths up on his lap time now. Really starting to find that rhythm. Like I said, this track will become rubbered in, and they will find grip towards the end of the session. The more cars that are out here stimulating that grip. So Daniel Rowe jumps himself up to 12th. Sits just behind Bruno Cadili there, who's also 4 tenths up on his lap time. He's only just started his lap. He's only just got onto the hanger straight there. So still a good portion of the lap to go. Down the hanger straight, it looks like he will drop a 10th, but still remain up on his personal best. Not going to like that exit there. Big mistake coming out there from Bruno. As we jump over now to Jared Frenbergen, who again is up 2 tenths. Sitting in 13th at the moment, so 2 tenths could possibly jump him up to 11th place where Bruno sits. So Jared here doing some great work for himself towards the final sectors of qualifying. That golden white Aston Martin rolls around the start-finish straight now. And Jared Van Bergen jumps himself to 7th place. What a qualifying lap coming out there. 158.938. Let's just pull up our timetables overall. You can just see the lap times coming out here at Silverstone. And, I mean, everybody pulling some pace out of places that I'm not quite sure where they're finding it. If you have driven at Silverstone, you'll know that these are very, very respectable lap times. And the Pro tier here doing a good job to represent that sort of caliber of driver. Everybody separated. I mean, from, what is it, 2nd down to 25th is separated by 3.5 seconds. 2nd to 25th. Absolutely insane. Cannot wait to see what goes down tonight as we make our way into that 15-minute mark remainder of quali. If you haven't got a lap time in, it's time to do it. Sebastian Janssen hasn't yet done so and is currently out in a BMW, which I believe is a lonely BMW. Don't see any more of those on the grid at the moment. So that will be a solitary BMW representation from Sebastian Janssen, the number 64. Gold, black, and red. Sort of the M Sport colors with a dash of gold. He is going to go around and set himself a 203.3 to start things off. So he's only done 5 laps here. So not really finding his rhythm just yet. Needs to start to focus on that rhythm. Johan Grobler, he's made his way up to 2nd place on the grid, whilst we were dabbling and talking about other things. And he's currently another 10th up on his lap time. And he is only, how far is he off here? Okay. He needs a 1.1 seconds here to find. McCall is going to take 2nd place back off of Johan Grobler. He's going to go and do a 157.7. So both Charles Wilkin and Morgan McCall breaking into that 157 barrier. Johan Grobler is going to get himself closer. He's lost a 10th somehow getting down onto the Wellington straight. But a 10th up is a 10th up. And in these tight fields, every 10th counts. Well, he's found another 10th as well. So make that 2 tenths as he comes around to finalize his lap. 2 tenths up it will be. And let's see where this puts him. Johan Grobler stays in 4th because Bruno Cadili, he's put in a fly. He's gone and done a 158.071. So close to breaking into the 157s as well. Pro tier drivers being pushed to their limits. A long qualifying session allows this. It allows you to feel the track, get that car dialed in exactly how you want to feel it for qualifying. Sometimes you're thrown into something where you just have to make some tire pressure adjustments or whatnot. Here you really do get laps to go out and find yourself a really good rhythm, a good setup, a good line. Push the limits of the track. Find where you can, overextend on the exits. Currently, Francis Vogel seems to be up by a 10th on his lap time. He will be our top 10 gatekeeper. He's got Bernard King behind him, trying to get into the top 10. Jared van Bagen up in front of him. Separated by just 200ths. So really a lot of time to be made up by all these drivers. They seem to find certain sections that, of course, they excel at. And you see them losing delta time. So Alan Patterson up on his time. He's up by a 10th, or 2 tenths at the moment, which could take him up to 25th place on the grid. Alan Patterson's Porsche looking quite similar to the intro Porsche that I set up for the RaceFace intro to the stream. So definitely sort of on the same mind track or mind set with that idea. Arno Versace, our other pink representative, is going to be driving for a Press Esports. That Audi, the number 94, was up by a 10th. Needs to find 1.3 seconds to take pole position. I mean, 157.309 from Charles Wilkin is just, absolutely phenomenal. And he's not happy with it. He's not sitting in the garage, tweaking his setup and eagerly just watching the timesheets as guys struggle to catch his time. He's continuing out there on track, continuing to push and find pace. So Charles Wilkin, an absolute monster. Another Porsche in second place. I'm always happy with a Porsche 1-2 at the front of a grid. It always bodes well for the good start to the race. As far as I do know, the drivers will be going through to a full in-game formation lap. I believe it's the one controlled by Kunos, which means that everybody will, follow the on-screen layouts. If I'm wrong, then I stand to be corrected and I will fix my mistakes for the next broadcast. But we will be doing this every week on a Thursday. I'll try and fit in as much casting as I can to as many different communities and platforms as possible. So Thursdays is reserved for RaceFace races, so the Pro Division will be streamed at 8:30 on a Thursday night every week for the next 10 weeks. I've come to the end of doing things on the Dominus side of things. Their Season 2 is going to be announced, or has been announced. Details to follow for them, and I'm doing stuff for RLM on Fridays. If you do enjoy the shoutcasting and broadcasts of all these sort of sim race things, you can tune in pretty much every night of the week if you are so inclined. So Bruno still not getting into the 157s as his fellow 1-2s have done ahead of him. Johan Grobler, he's still hanging on to the back of starting within the top 5. Holding down 4th position at the moment. So Johan Grobler doing good things in the Mercedes, and it looks like there's no clear dominant car. I mean, you want to say the Porsches are dominant for their placements in first and second, but then you have to look down the rest of the order and see sort of where the other Porsches are placed up there. And if it was just a completely dominant car, I feel that it would be sitting, stacked right at the top. All these drivers are pretty talented. I know there's, almost let's call it 2.9 seconds down to 23rd from first. It's a most admirable split and I think that everybody can pat themselves on the back for bringing out some awesome performances here in the qualifying session. And if the race is going to be indicated by this kind of intensity, I can't wait to see the battles that we get to see on track. Silverstone kind of gets called boring, blah, 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 all these things. It's a great overtaking track, and I feel like there's many opportunities for moves to get done. Plenty of straights to make use of slipstreams. So if you keep the guy in front of you dialed in, you've got 85 minutes to get the work done. We're not watching, street racing with NOS and F1 with their silly go fast DRS buttons. We're watching good old GT3 racing, which means that dialing in and catching a guy and getting a move done takes a little bit longer. And that's why RaceFace has extended their timesheet out. They dropped the qualifying down. It used to be an hour-long quali, which is arguably too long, in my opinion. And I'm glad to see that things have been dropped down to keep guys a little bit more on their toes and rather get more racing action than, longer qualifying sessions. So we'll aim to try and stream all of the quali sessions. I feel like, 30 minutes is a good time for us to get out, get familiarized with the drivers, kind of get a feel for the pace that everybody's bringing up. With almost 5 minutes to go, we can run just through the order again. Let's just bring up our timetable. So we've got Charles Wilkin up in first position. I'll just read them out as they stand at the moment. So we got Charles Wilkin in first, Morgan McCall second, third for Bruno Kadili, Johan Grable in fourth, Arno Versace in fifth, Kieran Patterson in sixth, Dian Kapp in seventh, Keegan Masters in eighth, Jared van Bergen in ninth, Mark Ansel in 10th, 11th for Francis Vogel, 12th for Bernard King, 13th for Brandon Kruger, 14th for Johannes Grayling, 15th for Daniel Rowe, Dwayne van Skulkfake in 16th, JC Grobler in 17th, Paul Gabbe in 18th, Arno van Mansberg in 19th, Neil Berger in 20th, Corne Strauss in 21st, Stefan Sparks in 22nd, Marco Pirelli in 23rd, Heinrich Hatting in 24th, Noah Hendricks 25th, Amish Sienerain in 26th, Barry Mayer 27th, Alan Patterson in 28th, Batis Hugo in 29th, 30th for Sean Buck, and Sebastian Janssen will be closing things out in 30th position on the order. So you guys see 24 places on the timing sheet in front of you. It's because we have too many drivers, and that is not something that I will ever complain about. So 5 minutes remain a quali, and then we go over to an action-packed round one at Silverstone for RaceFace.Pro, their pro division, of course, being streamed here. There are plans in the future for, I don't want to give too many tips away. I've got a fellow caster that's done some other games and things that will be joining me in the future. So for you guys, we might be able to even split ourselves up. We might be able to do some AM lobby and some pro lobby. We'll see. We'll jump around. We'll see what we can do. For now, the pro lobby is going to be casted every Thursday. So if you guys want to just jot it into the diary, just tell the wife to order in. Oh, you can't order in because we're in lockdown. So that's a bit bleak. I guess you could. You could order before 6 o'clock, I guess. Tell her that you're not brying because you got to watch RaceFace.Pro. She must put it into her diary. I know she's the one that probably controls what you guys do. I know how those things work. So for now, Charles Wilkin will return to the pit box. I think he's thrown in the towel in terms of trying to better any lap times there. He hasn't had to do much of a hard defense. Morgan McCall 3/10 off of his lap time, and Bruno Kadili 7/10 off himself. So Charles Wilkin, a great qualifying session coming out from him. 3 minutes 27 to go. Can someone do something amazing and prove me wrong? I think it would be great for the viewers. I think it would be bad for my reputation. But I mean, Charles Wilkin's 157.309 is there's no better word to describe it than disgusting. That is just where we go with it. Absolutely disgusting. Charles Wilkin, an alien walking around in Levi jeans and Arno Vasaki up on his lap time, 2/10 at the Mo. Make that 3/10. That Lamborghini powered Audi or Audi powered Lamborghini. It's definitely an Audi powered Lamborghini. No, does the Audi use the... I get this wrong. Oh! I did the caster's curse thing where I look at the driver and they throw it away. He was 3/10 up on his lap time before we started questioning what was powering this beautiful Pink Panther. And right there, he'll throw it all away. And we'll have to find a new driver to pick to curse, perhaps, hopefully not. Because if this happens too often, I'm not quite sure what we'll actually have to spectate. Oh my word, it has happened. I've destroyed the uncap as well. So, awkwardly, we switch over to Kruger, who is up by 3/10 on his lap time. And I'm relying on the Rad Racers reliant Brandon Kruger, the number 87 Lexus here, to break the commentator's curse. 6/10 up as he gets on to Wellington. Just got Brooklands and Lafield to navigate. He's lost a couple tenths, I'm afraid. He's down to 3/10 up. But that will be good enough to jump him up the order. Currently in 14th place. Where will Brandon Kruger come out? With 1 minute and 24 seconds left to quali, he will jump up to 8th. What a quali. So from 14th to 8th. This is why we love racing. Anything can happen. Bruno Kidili, he's up by a 10th on his lap time. Are we going to risk the commentator's curse? We are. We're going to watch the Silverback Racing AMG roar on through the chicane. The death chicane. Every chicane is a death chicane. So if you feel that, you know, lots of trucks seem to have the same naming convention, if you hear me call it the death chicane, it's actually not named that. It's what I call it. Chicane's the death. But they make tracks interesting. I mean, look at Monza. What would T1 Monza be online without T1? It would be it would probably actually just be a drag circuit, really, with a parabolic at the end. So that's why we need chicanes. In short, lessons with GMAX on track designs. So Bruno, he's lost that 2/10 gap that he had built himself up on his previous lap time. He's found a 10th coming through towards the end of his lap, which hopefully it's not going to be enough to take away anything from Morgan McCall, I'm afraid. Quali is going to end. And is Morgan going to get another lap time? No, he's just ended his quali. So everybody else on track at the moment is going to be able to. Paul Gaber, can he throw a little spanner in the works? Daniel Rowe in front of him in 15th did a 159.3, which means that if Paul Gaber is 2/10 up now, he could find himself jumping up 2 positions. So Paul Gaber, Team Try Hard Pro, another Porsche to follow around in the closing stages of quali. Another beautiful design. If it doesn't have a big fat NVIDIA sticker on the back, I'll be disappointed. And I can actually see that it says Porsche, so I'm trying to draw out the fact that I am disappointed, but it should say NVIDIA on the back. So Paul Gaber, unless he's running an AMD, then of course he wouldn't, Actually, I think it should have an NVIDIA logo for next week. So we'll do a little. We'll see who watches the stream. If Paul Gaber changes the Logitech, the Porsche badge to a NVIDIA to match his, then we know that he's paying attention. He's watching the stream afterwards. So let's pull up the timing splits as we come to the end of quali. We're going to get some weird things happening with the camera as ACC goes between sessions and we jump through them. So just if you see like it looks like we're in the game and there's chat messages and things popping up, I'm sorry. You see, this is what I was talking about. This is ACC doing this for us. And we cannot change this camera angle until we get into the next game session. So small little frustrating things coming out from Kunos, but we live with it. And I might be able to do just a little flyby. I think we could. And we could put up some driver names and we could, we don't quite have, it has not gone the way that I wanted it to go. That's unfortunate. Okay, let's see if we can get this right. So we'll be going from the front of the grid here. Wilkin, McCall on the front of the grid. Then we've got Cadiel and Grobler, followed up by Masters and Versace, Patterson and Kruger, Ansel and Cap, Grayling and Van Bagen, Vogel and King, Rowe and Gabber, Van Skalkfake and Grobler, Van Mansberg and Berger, Sienorain and Hutting, Strauss and Sparks, Hendricks and Pirelli, Mayer and Patterson, Hugo and Buck. And hopefully we can still get back to our regular broadcasting views, because sometimes it hates me and I play around with camera angles and we get punished. So for now, I'm gonna leave driver names on. I prefer having them on. I think a lot of the viewers appreciate being able to see some names. I'll take them off maybe for the start and the formation lap, because it does get quite messy. But when we start getting into battles, whilst we still learn the drivers and the liveries together, we'll pop a little surname up on there. Everybody gets their screen time. Please nobody change their name to their Facebook brand. I'm kidding. I like it. I like it that we get to have some real name driver names in a lobby. Normally I have some GMAX guy with his silly nickname in the middle of his surname. It's a very clean looking lobby. Professional. And that will be the countdown timer. So Charles Wilkin will lead us away. I'm not quite sure why we have so much of the in-game sort of track radiance talking going down. But it is what it is. So a full formation lap will come out. Drivers will be able to go, and I think maybe we can change the audio of this thing. Let's see. Okay, so we have less helicopter noise because the buzz actually kills me. I mean, I love it, but it drives me absolutely crackers sometimes. So we'll just bring down the helicopter sounds a smidge. Bit of a big gap coming out from these drivers on their formation lap. But a beautiful sight to see nonetheless. Everybody snaking and weaving around. For new viewers, they are trying to grab as much heat and temperature into their tires. It also looks good on stream. I mean, the most effective way to put warmth into the tires is really to sort of drag the brakes at the moment. But it does look good to see the cars weaving on stream. It feels like, you know, we're following the sim experience, because that's what you would definitely do in a real race car. Me, with all of my real life racing experience, I have none. Charles Wilkin, the man with all of that. Sarko Esports representative. Struggle with words sometimes if they're more than 2 syllables. Rip me. So Charles Wilkin with all that in on-track experience. Morgan McCall in second place. Bruno Kilili in third. I believe Morgan McCall's also done some on-track experience. I think Bruno's also done some on-track experience. So a lot of on-track experience really coming out. Johan Grobler there in fourth for Team Wolf. Just kind of get a little view of some of the cars down the grid. There's a nice little shot as they make their way down through the old pit box. I mean, if we're talking about colors, I mean, if I was to just pick a color, that was the color to pick. Dwayne van Skalkfake, Project E. Very, very dashing colored Porsche there. Pretty soon our drivers will be forming themselves up 2 by 2. Coming down to the end of Wellington, this is where they will start to bunch themselves up. Through Brooklands and Laffield. 2 by 2, we start to see our grid forming up and taking shape. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to go live for round 1 of the RaceFace.Pro Season 2 in ACC. These, of course, are GT3 cars, and we are casting the Pro Division here tonight. An hour and 25 minutes of racing, 85 minutes on the clock, a mandatory pit stop to take place. And we're waiting for the lights to go green. We're going to look for penalties to be picked up in the starting sequence. Everybody looking like they're in position, looking to get out. Charles Wilkin is going to get a drive-through on the jump. This is interesting. We saw this happen last night with an early jump-off, and both of them going to go side by side, and that's not the behavior into turn 1 that they wanted to see. This 30-second replay, let's just see if they have jumped the start. We have missed some of the race with this replay going back like this. And unfortunately, we can't stop it. So let's just see on the race sequence why the start was jumped. It doesn't look like he's out of position. I mean, it looks like he got way. That green flag jumped up, but he goes inside, and Morgan McCall makes contact with him. The two of them go side by side. So hopefully we can jump back to the action here. Morgan McCall will be out in front. He's got Bruno Kadili down behind him. Johan Grobler, he has made his way up into 3rd place. Kieran Patterson, he's gone down to 4th. Johannes Grayling into 5th. So this is an interesting start coming out. Charles Wilkin with that drive-through. He's gone all the way down to 17th place with that botched start and the contact coming out early on. So very, very interesting and weird start there coming out. But Morgan McCall will secure things running wide on the outside. That will be Dwayne van Skelkvake in that funny colored Porsche, the pink and green. Let's pull up some driver names on the drivers at the moment as they make their way down for, of course, their opening lap here, and things getting very, very interesting across the field. Arne Versace, he's made his way up to 6th place. He's battling out with Patterson to try and... Arne Versace's actually made his way into 5th place. He took a place off of Grayling in that Lamborghini, but Grayling also battling back. Can we get a helicam of these three also battling down as they come through into the tight sweeping right-hander? And it will be Arne Versace on the inside of Patterson there, but still remains in place. So Arne Versace will stay in 5th. Down the order a little bit, Dian Cup, a great start for him, up into 8th place in his McLaren. He's got JC Grobler, his teammate, right behind him as they've got a heap of cars piling up behind. It's going to be an interesting turn 1, or an interesting lap 1 for sure. Berger, he's just got Charles Wilkin in front of him, but with that drive-through penalty that Charles Wilkin's incurred, he's going to have to serve that. I don't believe that there are race stewards to be able to clear these kind of things, and unfortunately for Charles Wilkin, that pole position is just falling down the wayside, down into 15th place. Neil Berger in 16th. Where else do we see some on-track battles? Corne Strauss, he's got Pirelli right on his heels. He's got Mayer and Buck behind as well. They make their way down the Hanger Straight. He's definitely broken away from the slip there a little bit, but these cars behind him are going to be looking, and Pirelli trying to look on the inside. Strauss ran a little bit wide, but Pirelli's made a mistake, and that's allowed Mayer behind to get alongside Pirelli into the death chicane. They'll go side by side. Buck, big mistake from Buck. He's dived down the inside, lucky not to make contact with anyone, but Mayer will get the move done onto Pirelli. Buck, a big loser in that whole scenario. He's dropped way down the order, and that's allowed everybody to get on through. I'm just glad that the dive down the inside did not take anybody out, but Pirelli is going to get the move done back onto Mayer, and contact is made between the two. Mayer continues to drive. Pirelli taken out in the move. Not sure who was the cause, but stewards will come in. But Pirelli, a horrible re-entry to the track, comes out and takes out Hugo. Absolutely disgusting driving coming out from Pirelli there. That rejoin was not what was on And Bertus Hugo, he's been caught up in all of that on the stream. So now we go back to Johan Grobler up at the front. This is the battle for third and fourth. Patterson is pressuring the Mercedes in that Porsche. But for now, Grobler will hold off on third. Johannes Grayling, he's got Versace on his heels, running quite wide on the exit. Isn't going to cost him there unless he picks up those track limit warnings, which of course you've given 3 warnings, and then if you exceed it again, you're given a drive-through penalty for doing that. So you do have to be careful with the track limits. Definitely on the exit to T1, you get given a lot of room to run wide. But if you do get advantage, you need to be you just need to be careful. Sometimes the sim gives it to you, sometimes it doesn't, but it's not a place you want to be running. And Versace going to be trying to get something done on the inside, but Grayling just a little bit too good before the chicane, and it's not going to be a move yet for Versace. Like we talked about before, it's all about dialing in the car in front of you. It doesn't just happen instantaneously, and it takes a couple of good laps of driving to catch back up to where you were. Up at the front, is it still Patterson and Grobler? It is. Patterson and Grobler are knife fighting it out. Switching lines is Patterson as they make their way down through Village and Aintree. Patterson not with the exit that he needed, but he will have the slip here from Grobler. So let's get on board with Patterson in the Porsche. 5th gear, whining along, back down the gearbox for the left hand, and it will be Grobler to make the mistake. The pressure on from Patterson forcing Grobler to run, or Grayling to run, Grobler to run on wide. Versace here on the back of Grobler. Patterson and Grayling up ahead. Of course, any driver errors being made is just 3 positions on the track. So Grobler under attack from Versace. Looks like Charles Wilkin off screen will be going into the pits to serve that drive-through penalty. Unfortunate circumstances coming out there for Charles Wilkin, and what an interesting couple of laps. We're on lap 3 here at Silverstone, and the racing has already been hot and happening, and I expect it to continue in doing so. I saw a battle happening there between what looked like Corne Strauss and Arno van Mansberg. We can get I've caught another incident with the commentator's curse. So Strauss being knocked off the track there, gonna have to rejoin safely and gonna be forced down the order there. So quite a couple of incidents being caught on stream here. Hopefully the drivers go through and log these all with the stewards. Of course, RaceFace does have a stewards inquiry process, and his entire thing is here to try and encourage clean driving, try and make on-track battles as fair as possible, and try and give everybody, good viewership, good racing. So there's penalty points that can be applied. If you do pick up penalty points on your licenses, you'll be in trouble, because there will be relegations and promotion stages in the race. And that means that if you are found to be in a pro division with penalty points against your name, you'll be in trouble. You'll be facing relegation. Even if you're not in the relegation zone, or you're close to the relegation zone, your penalty points will count against you. And of course, if you get too many penalty points as well, you face just, being kicked out entirely. So that's extreme circumstances. Dirty drivers get weaned out, and it's not to be elitist. It's purely to make the racing enjoyable for everybody on screen and on camera. Nobody wants to be involved in issues. Nobody wants to be involved in incidents, but sometimes they happen. Grobler, a mistake being made in front of Versace there. And Grobler is going to be in a bit of trouble. This is a loud cap. Oh, look at this. This is a 3-way wide battle coming down the hangar straight. JC Grobler in the Mercedes at the front. On the outside is Dion Cup. He's been sort of forced out of his line. Dion Cup under attack from Grobler and Vogel now. They're coming down to the chicane. And there's just a heap of cars trying to get in here. Cup on the inside. He's made contact there with Kruger, but got through on the inside line. Kruger losing out just a little bit there as Cap chases down his teammate Grobler. And this is the kind of on-track battles that you get with drivers that are spaced out so closely in terms of driver skill and times on the circuits. And behind, it will be Grobler and Vogel to be battling out. I believe Vogel went a little bit... Did he go a bit wide there? He did, so he's lost some time. Needs to close back down onto the back of Grobler. And that will allow King in 11th to potentially get himself up onto the top 10 position. Switching over to Alan Patterson here, who of course qualified near the back of the order. Currently running in 20th place. For position in front, does have Rowe that he's battling out. A little bit of damage on the front of Patterson's Porsche, so I'm not quite sure if he has picked up too much damage. But at the moment, the beautiful pink RaceFace themed Porsche for Patterson Works Racing. That car behind him, Mayer, is a lapped car in 28th place. So Mayer there would be looking to unlap himself. So Patterson not having to worry about battling for position down at the moment. In terms of our split timings, if our cameraman can pull us back over, it does look like King is catching back up, and we've got a battle brewing behind. It will be King, Greiling, Van Skulkvik, Gaber and Kruger all making their way down. We'll add Van Bagen to that too. I mean, just a mixture of cars and drivers, all within a couple of tenths of one another. Close racing all around. A tiny mistake being made anywhere will just cost you a position. Of course, you've got an hour and 13 remaining, and there's Gaber making one of those mistakes and will be taken on the outside by Berger, and Van Bagen is trying to do the same thing. Contact between the two, perhaps. They are going to have to back out. Just an incident. I want to see what's happening here with Charles Wilkin. Of course, forced to go into the pits to serve that drive-through penalty. Currently in 22nd place. Definitely not the start that Charles Wilkin would have wanted to have. Going back over to our race leader, Morgan McCall. Hasn't had enough limelight for the moment. Of course, is being chased down by Bruno Kedili behind. Max Speed Racing here for McCall, though, the number 888 Porsche. Currently will lead by almost a second onto Bruno Kedili. These two drivers out at the front, both talented in their own respects. And I expect that, pit strategy will come into effect. It will be interesting to see what these two do. Hopefully we get to see Bruno Kedili catch up to the back of McCall and give us some on-track action between those two. That would be absolutely cool to see. JC Grobler, he's done well for himself. JC Grobler and Dion Cup both started quite far down the order and have made their way up into 5th and 6th respectively. So both driving for Azure Vista Racing. So teamies in terms of team name, both driving different manufacturers' cars. So Azure Vista Racing obviously having a big racing budget. They have two manufacturers here in the running. And of course, these two being teammates, you'd assume that the racing being done, of course, is going to be communicated to one another via some kind of communications platform and trying to make their way together through the order. And that's what you really want. You want to be able to capitalize on each other's slipstreams, work together, not have to defend for position, and actually form up a bit of a train to try and catch leaders in front of you. And I think that's what a lot of these drivers are actually starting to do at the moment, is form into that train that you get to see in the GT racing. Everybody starts to settle in. Of course, you still get on-track battles when people make mistakes, but it's all about trying to utilize that slipstream, reduce the drag, and get the most out of your tires too. Of course, an hour and 25 minutes is a long time to drive around on a single set of tires. So some people might be doing tire changes, some people might not. Of course, we do have that mandatory pit stop. I don't believe that there's any forced changes that they have to make, so you are still free to play with your strategy. There is a pit window that is going to be opened up, and I believe it's 45 minutes long. So within that 45 minutes, you can go in, jump into the pits, make a change, and then come back out. That will be a valid stop. I'm not even sure what the minimum requirements for it are. Can you just do a stop and go? Those kind of things are things that we'll have to see if you know, it's possible. And if guys are going to try and, you know, just splash and dash and go. You know, some cars could make quite a long stint here. King going to go past Krailing on the inside. And Krailing just going to okay with that. So let's go and see if Paul Gaber's battle with Hatting has improved at all. It does not look like he... Dejan Cap, what has happened there? So Dejan Cap was running up in 5th or 6th place, I believe, and has dropped down the order to 12th. Hasn't made a pit stop. And his McLaren looking a little bit bashed up too. So perhaps having a meet and greet with the wall, not something that you want to do. And we see Van Bagen doing similar things. Not making contact with the wall, but playing in the sand trap. And if you didn't bring your bucket and spade, you're going to be in there for a while. And Van Bagen ahead of the straight. Not a place that you want to not be able to carry your speed through. And he will bleed out positions like there's no tomorrow. Antal will come down with a run. He'll be coming down with some speed. Van Bagen will be forced to go defensive on the inside line. Refuses to bleed any more positions. And Antal will be chasing down to see if he can find it. So Nieuwe Hendricks and Amrish Sinerain, they found themselves in their own battle respectively. This will be the battle for 14th, which Sinerain currently holds in that bright blue Bentley. He does have Hendricks trying to have a look in that Ferrari behind, but that Bentley can't make mistakes. You see the back coming round. You touch the curb, you lose some speed. And through Maggots Beckett's Chapel, it is not a place that you want to lose out and let somebody get close to that slipstream anymore. From the back of the Bentley, we get a nice view at the front of Hendricks as it's going to be wide for Sinerain, and I believe that this is going to allow... Maybe, nope, Hendricks not going to be allowed, and Sinerain squeezing Hendricks a little bit there, but defending that inside line while still trying to secure, obviously, his ability to enter. And Nieuwe Hendricks doing a good job there also to just kind of back out a bit. Saw the squeeze coming and didn't want to be forced into a position he wasn't able to fight from. And that's what it's all about. If you're forcing drivers to make mistakes on other corners, you can make them do it again. And it's all about sussing out the right place to do so. And Hendricks here will be chasing down on Sinerain. We'll be having a look on the inside. Sinerain leaves it open. But again, good on the defensive work to shut the door, close Hendricks out, and send him out with a decent send-off, because he's let him hold off into the slipstream down the straight. And Hendricks now going to have a look on the inside. Is he side by side just yet? He's not. Sinerain is giving the relative space, and he's gone very wide, and this will be 2 places. Rowe now, is Rowe gonna let it be 2 places? Sinerain on the inside, on the outside, Rowe on the inside, and I think that Rowe will have the run that he needs coming down. They will stay side by side, T1 side by side. Who is going to get this? And it will be Rowe to get in front of Sinerain there. So Sinerain with one running wide and Rowe running wide now. Sinerain will get the run coming into Mackett's. Will he take it back row on the defensive, putting that white Ferrari on the defensive apex on the inside every time? And Senerain under attack from that pink Porsche from Patterson. This is what you love to see in GT3 racing. You go defensive, you lose a position. You go defensive again, you lose 2 positions. And it's all because you're getting pressurized from a faster driver behind. Right now, that looks like it's going to be King versus Grayling. Grayling going to be in the Lamborghini. King in the Lexus. That number 22 for BK Racing. I was just giving myself a refreshing sip of some juice. The race has been juicy enough, yes, but it has been an insane first 20 minutes.
Pit window is opening.
And there we go. With that said, the pit window is now open for business. The pit crews will be putting on their best set of tackies and getting out those tire sets and making sure the refueling hoses are set and ready. The drivers will be taking to the pits. Possibly too early for that now, so of course a long pit window. But I feel like people will be trying to extend tire sets. I've just jumped back over to Morgan McCall just to give you guys an update on our current leaderboards. We can pull up a timetable really to show you the top 24. Let me run through the order. We've got McCall in first, Kadili in second, Patterson in third, Versace in fourth, Krobler in fifth, Vogel in sixth, King in seventh, Grayling in eighth, ninth for Van Skulkvik, 10th for Berger, rounding out the top 10. Dropping down, we've got Hatting in 11th, Cap in 12th, Gabe in 13th, Hendricks in 14th, Senerain in 15th, 16th for Van Bagen, Rowe in 17th, Patterson in 18th, Anto in 19th, 20th for Charles Wilken, 21st for Jay Grobler, 22nd for Van Mansberg, Strauss in 23rd, Hugo in 24th, Sparks in 25th, Masters in 26th, Mayer in 27th, Kruger in 28th, Pirelli in 29th, and rounding things out, we've got Jansen in 30th position. Coming up to our 1 hour mark, 25 minutes of racing have been concluded. And so far, in summary, we've seen quite a few scuffed up cars. So, some interesting stewards inquiries to come for sure. And it's something that you don't always get to talk about in sim racing, but I suppose it's something that you have to talk about at times. You know, these guys are doing their best. They're trying to simulate racing conditions. Some people, you know, just assume that things like, you know, sim racing are just games in inverted brackets, but there's some serious stuff going down. Ansel facing the wrong direction. Senerain very slow coming out. Van Mansberg, free positions coming out and running wide before getting onto Wellington, before getting the car back on circuit and getting himself some free positions. So not quite sure what happened there, but a lapse of judgment possibly coming out from one of the drivers. Antel most certainly facing the wrong direction. I caught him on the candid camera as we were following along with Van Mansberg. I'm trying to see what our closest on track battle is at the moment, and I do believe that this little train is actually like the one that we need to keep an eye on. We've got Van Bagen, Atting, Patterson, and Grobler all sort of bunching up together. It's a beautiful sight. I mean, 4 different manufacturers in a single screenshot. We've got the Aston Martin up at the front from Van Bagen. Then we've got Hatting's McLaren. Oh, is that Patterson making a move? Or is that Hatting or Grobler? I think Grobler made the move on Patterson. He did. So, Johan Grobler, the battle of the pinky cars. Grobler's got less pink, but more drive. Obviously got through on Patterson. Good bit of driving coming through from Grobler who of course is down the order here. We saw him qualifying way ahead of where he is now. So of course, a quicker driver down the order, you would expect him to make his way through the field, but a frustrating place to find yourself if you are caught up behind traffic and needing to find a good place to do so, because you know what, in GT3 racing, your line is so important, and if guys are defending and not making mistakes, it is so difficult to get things done. So Grobler gets things done onto Patterson, which changes things up in our little train just a little bit. Wilkin, of course, also out of position there. He was our pole sitter for the start of the race. You wouldn't believe it. He's sitting down in 14th. He's made his way up through the order, and he's making his way through the pack. It would be good to watch him just a little bit. He's going to go alongside Rowe, giving each other plenty space. On the run down, Wilkin on the inside, Rowe on the more ideal turn in line, but Wilkin does have the space to make the inside work. Needs to be careful not to do anything wrong, because Van Bagen behind, he's also capitalized on this. It's going to be Rowe versus Van Bagen. Look at this. Oh, Van Bagen backs out there and lets Rowe go on through. Some smart racing coming out from Van Bagen there. Cameraman is trying to catch up with the action. We go back over to the Hangers Straight, where of course the order's changed up just a little bit. Rowe now as Van Bagen, putting some pressure on him from behind. Will be who is going to get later on the brakes and who is going to get better exits too. So we have come into that 1 hour mark on the clock. 59 minutes of racing remain. In terms of pit stops at the moment, none of our front runners have done too much. You do see some drivers being indicated on the timing board on the left side. If you see a little green dash next to their car number, or a little green block, that means that they have done their mandatory stop and conform to all pit stop requirements. So is that perhaps what... I mean, no, the uncap he had dropped down further. So I think that, he has gone into the pits. He's definitely gone and repaired his McLaren. It's looking a lot cleaner. So his pit stop being done definitely did some repair damage, which means that that's going to have cost him some time. His teammate JC Grobler in 5th place, yet to go into the pits. Didn't look like he had too much visual damage to his Mercedes himself, so might not have to suffer the same fate on his pit stop. Does have Vogel's Aston Martin behind, that number 5. Black and green Aston Martin going to be chasing down on JC Grobler. Of course, that will be a battle for position. Probably going to try and go defend. Oh, Vogel on the... Cheeky Vogel. I'm going to go back 10 seconds and just watch this from like a little bit of a helicam. Just kind of sends it on the inside. Comes a bit right. Using a lot of the track limits there. Grobler not happy. He's on the flashy I hate you lights. Also known as the hello I want to pass you lights, and the what are you doing lights, and the hey mates how are you lights. You know, whatever you want to use your flashies for. They can be very emotive. It can be very emotive indeed. So it will be a position change as Vogel goes up into 5th. Van Bagen, Grobler and Hatting continue to hammer at my timing sheets. They are showing lap differentials of less than a 10th at times, and then up to 2/10. So definitely closing one another down at the moment. That will be the battle for 13th. Van Bagen currently holds off the little train of cars behind him. But of course, this is what GT3 racing is. Settling into that rhythm and flow. Waiting for someone else to make a mistake. Putting pressure on them where you can.
And it will be interesting to see where Charles Wilkin does make his way through. Of course, he's got a lot of clean air in front of him now. Pit stop still to do, and that will be a pit stop to repair, well, sorry, not repair damage. That will be an optional choice. Will really be the focus to do tires and fuel if you are going to be doing those two things. The Porsches aren't the most fuel economical cars, so I do believe you will be throwing fuel into them. I think most cars will be throwing fuel. Sienna Rain's come from some very distant background there onto track somehow whilst we were watching along into Wilkin. Not sure where he had made the mistake, but re-enters onto the track. Safely, I'll mention. Safely for sure. It just kind of appeared as we watched Wilkin on screen. So Maggots, Beckett's, Chappell claims another victim there. Luckily, no contact with the wall. Morgan McCall still leads things away. He's about to come and start his 15th lap here. He's got Bruno Kedili still within sight. Just down the field, really. And both of them doing very similar lap times. Best time coming out from Morgan McCall, a 159.1. Best time for Kedili, a 159.283. So both of them close enough together to keep each other honest. Kieran Patterson, some fresh air to the lead, or to the car that chases him, which will be Versace, 7.2 seconds down the field. And then you've got Vogel, the next car in position, who's 14 seconds down the field. So some big-ish gaps starting to form up between the front runners as well. Expect the pit stops to change things a little bit. Depends on what the pit stop strategies are, I suppose, before I make calls like that. Everybody goes in and does the same pit stop, then everybody comes out in the same position, right? So Grobler and Grayling. A battle brewing. Grobler needs to be careful. Defending that inside line has cost him to go wide. Oh, they have made contact though. Both of them making contact together. No one yielding a position. Inside line going to come out from JC Grobler here. Grayling. So this is a time we can get 30 seconds back and have a little look-see. So this is the run down. It is going to be a bit of a late look on the inside. That has forced Grobler to run wide. They both have. Oh, Grobler turns back in onto Grayling's Lamborghini there, in fact. Grayling maybe not giving as much room to the re-entering cars JC Grobler would have expected there. JC Grobler obviously feeling that the dive coming in to the end of the hangar straight was a little bit of a divey move on the inside, forcing him to go wide, and it was his place to come back on. Not quite sure. That will go over to the stewards if those kind of things get, lodged. But, no harm, no foul. No one really died. And both cars still on track to fight it out. Hopefully not picking up damage, of course. That's always the thing that you want to avoid. But Grayling will be back on the back of Grobler, as if nothing had ever happened before. And wide again goes JC. So he needs to be careful of his track limit warnings. We've touched on those earlier. Feels like Grayling definitely got a little bit of pace on him. Is trying to capitalize his exit here. Good smart driving coming out from Grayling, and he's got the slip now. Let's see what Grobler decides to do. Grobler probably going to stick on the inside defensive line. Going to force Grayling to go around the outside. And Grobler doing just that. Getting very, very understeery on the exit though. The cutback potential coming in. And again they'll go side by side. And again it will be Grobler to defend the inside. So hard defense work coming out from JC Grobler here. As the battle will continue, and it will be King and Grayling to perhaps battle it out themselves here. And this is what we talked about. You battle up in front and things change. And Grobler is going very, very understeer. He's losing a lot of time. And he has to get defensive. I mean, he's costing all of the drivers behind him time. You can see them. Oh! The drive coming right in. It's been in what looked to appear to be a bit of a punt coming in. Let me try and see if I can get 10 seconds. Let's see, 30 seconds back on the replay view. So that's Grayling behind in the Lamborghini. Let's see if we can ride on board here with Grayling and just see what's happened. So JC on the brakes coming through. Yeah, that's unfair driving coming out there from Grayling, and a bit of a disappointing end to that battle that came out between the two. So looks like King will get through that anyway. Unfortunately there for JC Grobler, he's had to go back into the pits as well. I think he's going in to take his mandatory pit stop. Unfortunate change of events there. But it will be, I believe that Masters is being lapped here by King. Yes, indeed it is. So Masters just going to pull away to the side and allow King to get on through and carry on with his thing. Grayling will be chasing down on King, wanting to get past Masters, the back marker as well. Not going to be the place to do it just yet. Masters wants to give the space. He's going to look to give some space on the outside, but that inside line is not going to be there. And Grayling is driving very reckless at the moment, and I really do hope that people have a little look into things like this. Not a place to get the move done, and it's not a place that you can really pass the back marker. Masters can't really lift in this section of the track. Let's see if a helicam can kind of show us what happened after the chicane. He's just kind of clipped the rear end, and yeah, mate, you wait 1 second to get onto the straightaway section, and that back marker Masters is allowed back on track and can pull over to the side. So very aggressive driving coming out there, and unfortunately 2 incidents caught there in battles. Grayling maybe feeling a little bit frustrated. We'll be going into the pits, going into the pits to service penalty. Maybe a bit of a cool-off period there as well. Very, very angsty driving coming out. We'll go over to Patterson, who has Versace. Is that Versace behind him by a second? I think the timing sheet has made a bit of a mistake. It's not. Versace is definitely more than a second down the field there. So JC Grobler going to come out of his pit stop there into 19th place. So one of the drivers that we are following for some battles was sitting quite far up at the front of the pack. Obviously now, having gone in, has completed his pit stop. Trying to just see visual indicators to see if he did do any damage repairs and see how much time he would have had. Does look like a reasonably fresh set of paint on the front, although the rubbering on the car is always going to be there. I don't particularly remember it having too much visual damage on it. It's not a great indicator of the way that things work, but sometimes it can show you. Kruger this will be Hugo passing Kruger. Well, Kruger should be potentially yielding here to Hugo. It would be getting blue flagged shortly. RaceFace liveries. Team Wolf. And for now, not too much action. It is Buck for position behind. So Buck and Hugo will be battling it out. If Kruger slows down these guys that are obviously ahead of him for position, But Kruger does seem to have the pace on him at the moment, not really requiring the need to let Hugo go just yet. But it is something like if you are approaching a lapped driver, in your mind, you're like, let me go. I've got a driver behind me. Give me fresh air. You're dirtying my air in front, which is obviously a concern. I mean, if you are going to not be in a good slip position, you are just getting dirty air. You don't want to be caught up behind back markers. Will be Buck to get on through for now. He's got some work to do. He was right on the back of Hugo, but in the closing sector seems to have dropped down the order. Kruger will be waved the blue flags, but still feels that Hugo's not quite there. You know, for pride, he does not want to be another lap down. Let's go and see if our leaders have managed to reel one another in. And by reel in, I mean, has Kadili managed to catch up with McCall? It does not look like they have. 1.5 seconds separate the two, which is not a lot. I mean, you see them both in shots. 44 minutes left of race time to go. And of course, the pit window is still open for 24 minutes. So within the next 24 minutes, we will be seeing some pit stops coming in from our front runners. If you are wondering on the timing sheet how to read it as a viewer as well, you'll see that obviously the car that we highlighted is red. The driver name is white, which is the current driver that we're looking at. If there's a driver on the timing sheet that's also white, that means that it's a place for position. So you can see the next driver in front of Patterson would be Jay Hrubler. But because Jay Hrubler is actually a lap down, he's shown in blue. He's actually in 19th place. So that means Patterson is approaching a back marker here. And then in front of him, you would have Kadili and McCall. So just to let you guys know what that means. And if you are a lapped car, like for instance, if we go over to Hrubler here, if you are a lapped car, you'll see that cars that show up as orange are cars that are coming to lap you. They're a lap ahead. Cars that are white are obviously cars that are on your lap. And cars that are blue are cars that you've lapped yourself. So each perspective as we change through the drivers, this timing sheet will update. So if you are looking for where someone is relative and who's in front of them, just have a look at the order that's in front of you. It will show you the next cars on track and their time gaps to them, their relative time splits. So Hrubler obviously here going to be passed by Patterson, or Patterson wants to get past. Blue flags being waved for Hrubler. He has spent some time in the pits repairing some damage, was unfortunately caught up in an incident. It was kind of brewing. There was some rubbing in racing going down. We're halfway through the race. Just as an update there, if you did not hear crew chief. Well, not really crew chief, it's the in-game spotter talking. Crew chief not really supported anymore for Assetto Corsa Competizione, which is a bit unfortunate. Unless that's changed, which would of course make me happy. But from last that I heard, crew chief no longer going to be supported in development for ACC going forward. So Hrubler there definitely still got the pace. It will be Van Skalkwyk making the pass on Masters. Of course, the lapped car. Masters not yet letting him by. Van Skalkwyk will be closing down again, though, shortly. Masters not having luck with cars that have lapped him coming past and getting past cleanly, so possibly feeling a bit apprehensive. I always recommend that drivers find a place on the straights. Just let them have it. He's not quite close enough here for Masters to do anything. I mean, you can't expect a car to just lift off just because he's You know, got a blue flag being waved at a gap like that. So for now, Van Skulkfake will chase on down. Don't really have too many on-track battles. I do hope that the pits come in and change things up. Krobler and Berger, they're quite close. I mean, 4 tenths between them. A Porsche versus Mercedes battle as well, which is always fun and games for me. If you don't know which car I would choose, if I was picking one to be the victor, it would be the one currently sitting at the back, but mostly brightly colored. That would be the Porsche. Berger going to be trying to hunt down onto Krobler. Not quite in the slip gap just yet. And that number 24 grows a little bit smaller in the distance as Krobler extends that gap that was... Ooh, what is happening behind that? Is that another on-track battle? I don't believe it is. No, that would be Masters and Hutting. So Hutting is... Okay, so Berger going to dive into the pits. Krobler going to dive into the pits. I mean... So Krobler in. Didn't want to deal with the pressure. Vogel into the pits as well. Quite a couple of cars actually jumping into the pits and doing their pit window now. 39 minutes on the clock. Interesting. That's going to allow Hutting to slide on by. Hutting not seemingly getting caught up in too much on-track battling. Hasn't really had to defend or attack against someone that is over-defending, slowing down. So possibly hasn't had to work the tires too much. It would be interesting to see if there are some of these pit strategies that will come out where guys do get some more off the tires and don't fall off of their lap times too. So Bruno Cadili has been given a stop-go penalty. Has done his pit stop. So I can tell you now, a stop-go penalty after a pit stop would indicate that he probably took off the pit limiter a little bit too early and sped in the pit lane. And it can just be a microsecond that happens. But that is going to be a big bummer on what was going to be a grand start to RaceFace for Cadili here. It's going to have to jump into the pits, go into the pit box, go up on the jacks with 30 seconds. With no work being done to the car, so there's no benefit coming out. And then you drive on out. So yeah, that last lap was where the pit stop occurred. Cadili will hold down the lead. It looked like McCall had an awful pit stop, but is going to benefit from this in the long run because of that stop-go that will come out from Cadili. So interesting enough, something went great with Cadili's pit stop in getting him out in front, but it went wrong at the same time and got him a stop-go penalty, which means McCall goes back into the lead when Cadili pits to serve that. Patterson has also been a big winner in the pit stops. He's come out and is right behind McCall. And of course, these guys had quite a big gap. So first and second, just not having luck with their pit stops. And Patterson making some right calls. Berger is going to be out of position temporarily. If you see that, that's just because of the fact that he is yet to go into the pit. So extending himself as long as possible. Still 16 minutes to go for these guys to go and get into the pits. But for now, Berger going to be enjoying the top 5 position for the moment. Master's going to be wanting to unlap himself from Berger. This, to me, may indicate that Berger is going to be going into the pits. Patterson having some strange connection on screen there. I just want to see if this is why Berger was just letting cars go and unlap themselves. I mean, it's also a good call to just do so, but I feel like Berger, having been out on track for a little bit longer, potentially just letting him by, but he carries on driving around. So Berger there, not going to go into the pits, continues his drive on by. Kadili holds down first, will be snatched away by Morgan McCall in the next couple of laps. So Heinrich Hatting is also out of position just in terms of not being into the pit stop. So expect Arno Versace to jump back up into position and take back over 4th place when the, these guys go and serve their mandatory stops. But for now, always good to see how far you can get on a single set of tires. I'm not quite sure if the mid-pack is much the same. They've probably all kind of gone and done their pit stuff. It looks like they have. Kruger hasn't been into the pits yet. So Brandon Kruger here still needing to go into the pits. So potentially out of position in 23rd for the moment. Not quite sure how many laps Kadili has to still serve his drive-through penalty. I would assume this is the lap he has to go in on. And will be quite upset with that, I'm sure. So let's just see if Kadili decides that it's time to peel in and serve the stop-go penalty. It will be Kadili to go in. McCall will take back his lead. And so rightfully so, he feels. He had it from the word go. Charles Wilkin botched the start with some kind of a drive-through penalty. I say botched now in stream, but potentially something could have happened in the game. I did see the actual, and when I say game, I mean like the way that it's written, where there are some bugs. We have seen drive-throughs happen where 69 kilometers an hour suddenly is speeding ahead of the start. So hopefully those things can be reviewed and looked into, and Kunos goes to fix it. Patterson handed a 2nd place potential podium finish. And this means that Versace, a driver who's just kind of continued to just, lurk around and do his thing, potentially going to be given a shot at a 3rd place podium finish. So a good drive coming out from Versace to put himself in this position. Neil Berger, of course, in front, who currently is in 3rd, will be going into the pits. So when Versace takes over that position, big work to still be done. Charles Wilkin, obviously, the driver that we talked about a lot at the start, and going to have to just jump back over to him. I mean, after pit stops have been served, he's still got the fact that he's up into 7th place after going all the way down the order. That's why these guys are in the pro division. Continue to smile and wave and put in good lap times. Make your way back up through the order. And to have that kind of a start and then get yourself back into the top 10. Absolute monstrous drive coming out from Mr. Wilkin. And I believe he does have the fastest lap time of the race as well, which would be that 1:58.593. So Dian Kapp and Bruno Kadili will be a on-track battle. We get gifted something in the last 30 minutes, and this is why pit stops make things happen. And of course, that stop-go penalty will be on the cards as to why Bruno Cadili is down the order here. Dian Cap will be having to defend his absolute McLaren out of this one. He's going to have to hold Cadili back. Cadili wants to go down the inside, can't do it here. He's a car length behind. Cap will survive through T1, and the onslaught attack from Cadili will be laid on once again. Maggots, Beckett, and Chapel. It's all about the rhythm and flow and carrying the speed that you can through. Both drivers looking comfortable and clean through. Can't note any sort of oversteer or understeer costing them time, and it will be down to the drag on the straight. Cap, of course, up at the front will be creating some slipstream effect for Cadili behind, but it's not enough just yet. And on the inside, Cadili here gonna have a look-see. Cap wants to secure that inside line for the chicane. Gonna squeeze Cadili just a little bit out so that he can set himself up for it. And of course, defending the inside lines is going to allow Cadili to work his own lines and try and find his way through. So let's jump over onto the onboard with Cadili here, as he's got Cap on the defensive. And this is where you'll see the wideness of a McLaren being made wider with defensive move. Oh, he's left a little bit of a gap here. He's going to have to give some room. Down Cap, a tiny little error there, but sets himself up for the inside of the next corner. But the cutback potential and the drive down as they get onto the Wellington straight could be there. Good bit of driving coming out from Dian Cap. I thought he had made a mistake giving Bruno some room, but really he had set himself up for the inside, and he's now not letting Cap have, or not letting Cadili have any room. He's going to set himself up again for the inside. So Cap thinking 2 corners ahead here. That's the driving that's coming out, and he's not allowing Bruno around. But Bruno now will have the ideal line as they come down the start-finish straights. I think this is Bruno getting the work done. Cap fought hard and strong. They are still alongside one another. Cap going to have to back out, and Cadili getting the move done. 28 minutes left on the clock, and a good bit of driving coming out nonetheless. Of course, out of position there, King will be looking to see if that battle has enabled him to see a place passed on Cap. We saw the defensive moves coming out from Cap, so do not expect an easy move from King. King on the inside. It's going to be left wide again here, and I don't think that's going to be enough to cover back. So a mistake coming out there from Dian Cap, and King just there ready to pounce. The Lexus gets on by, and there's not even going to be a fight back for the chicane. So King gets on through. Charles Wilkin into 6th place. Of course, he's still got Van Skulkfake to go and do some pit stops. Van Skulkfake, that's pink and green Porsche. So Wilkin will be jumping up to 5th when those pit stops are served. Only 7.5 minutes remain for that pit window. And Wilkin hunting and trying to find that place. And my heart bleeds for the man. A pole sitter given a drive-through penalty on the start for apparently a jumped start, which I do feel things are happening. Let me have a second to just quickly pull up our chat streams. What's up, everybody? I do see some comments here as well. Sorry, we've been... Oh. We've been casting some good old action here, and I lost me overlays. There we go, we found them back. So if you do have a broadcast client and you're trying to stream ACC, if you close your broadcast clients, it's like the worst thing in the world. You suddenly become a passenger in what ACC feels like you have to watch. And that's exactly what just happened there when I was trying to pull up the chat. So this is the reason why I don't pull up the chat. Poof. Insane. So some BOP. Yeah, I agree. Some BOP would be good. I'd be excited to see if some custom BOP gets run. Like you said, other leagues do it. RLM does it. AR does it. Not too sure of local leagues that are experienced and playing with it, but it would be definitely something cool to have a look-see and see. Definitely no BOP needed on the Porsches, right? Because if we are BOPing Porsches, then I no longer want to BOP. I mean, Patterson and McCall here. I'm not quite sure where Patterson has found such pace, but Patterson is absolutely slaughtering it out here. And maybe McCall... Maybe McCall didn't take tires. Maybe Patterson is on fresh tires. I have absolutely no idea, and that's why I love racing. But Patterson seems to be on the absolute attack. I mean, he's closing down onto McCall. Both of the drivers have done their pit stops. Nothing stops them from fighting it out like this till the end of the race. Shout out Mr. Angelus. My usual co-caster shenanigans could normally continue if he was here. We could have some banter. Ruin, what's up, man? How you doing? There's the shout out in the chat there. I'm not quite sure if the YouTube chat is working out. Let's go, Kieran Patterson and Patterson Works team. So keen to represent them here at Silverstone on Monday in the RSS F3 race. So that's from Sneaky Panda. Rand Sunerain said, Amrish, good luck tonight. So all the viewers showing their support for their respective favorite drivers. And the Patterson fans will be very excited to see McCall being attacked. It's not often that Morgan McCall feels such pressure. Very, very quick driver, of course. Patterson showing that has the same sort of pace abilities. I want to see what Kieran Patterson's last lap is. A 150. Oh, his best lap's a 158.689, which is disgusting compared to Morgan McCall. He's done a 159 almost flat. So almost 4/10 faster Kieran Patterson's fastest lap, which is awesome. Charles Wilkin was did a 158.5. So he's only a 10th off the fastest lap of the entire race. Kieran Patterson definitely looking like he wants to show some more muscle. McCall seems to have been given a little bit of a rev up from his crew chief there, because he's suddenly found some power mode into his Porsche. Patterson running wide on some exits, not going to be benefiting him too much either. But McCall suddenly starts to run his way back up the field. He's got Strauss ahead as a back marker. Not a great place for Strauss to be able to get out the way of McCall here. McCall going to be costed a little bit of time, so he's going to pull out of the way. Good move coming out from Strauss. Gonna pull over. Doesn't want to lose time, so wants McCall to get on by. Good move from Strauss to let them by. Let both front runners get through. That's what you want to see from back markers. We get to pick up those kind of little things on the stream as well, and just mention them, that drivers moving out of the way of a battle like that. Just tips hat. Great driving, great racecraft, and the right thing to do in that situation. McCall not being held up by Strauss, and Patterson not being held up by Strauss, so allowing themselves to get this on-track battle going down. Strauss has Masters behind in the background, but that's not for position. So for now, I do want to just follow along with McCall and Patterson and see if McCall does get that Porsche moving a little bit faster. He has got himself up a 7/10 gap. So he is finding some time on Patterson for the moment, but let's not discard the fact that they did have back markers to deal with on previous laps, and they will continue to deal with them. So these two are going to fight it out, and I cannot wait for it to happen. Shani here, my co-caster. I'm doing Call of Duty as well on Saturday with Shani. So if you guys want to come and see me shoutcast something that is not racing, but just as equally exciting because it has big bangs and guns and things, you can catch me on Saturday casting over with Shani. So that will be a pretty good fun time away from the verpa of the racetrack. 20 minutes remain with 17 seconds left of the pit window. Why has Kruger not gone into the pit? Someone tell me this. Kruger's going to miss this pit window. Please just watch this. Watch the pit window. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pit window is closed.
Window is now closed.
Kruger hasn't pitted. Hectic. So that will basically, it's going to disqualify Kruger when he finishes this race in 20 minutes. And all those drivers. So Sennaren's fans, if you're here, you will be promoted to 20th for free at this point, with Brandon Kruger not serving that mandatory stop. That's quite hectic. I do feel for the man. It's a long time, 85 minutes of racing, to be disqualified at the end of the race. And I'm not sure if he maybe did pits and got a pit stop bug. That could have happened. I mean, there's 30 cars here. I couldn't track everybody. And maybe he's going to take that up with the race control after the event, and they'll look into changing the way that his penalties applied afterwards. I'm not sure. I'm just saying that I have no doubt that there will be some tears when that DSQ comes up next to the name tag at the end of this. Yeah, LT's not wrong in chat. That's exactly Kruger. So some more back markers to be dealt with. Rowe this time around. Going to get out of the way of McCall. Patterson will be wanting to do the same too. Look at the flashy lights going down. Toot toot, fun police are here. You need to move out of the way now as the battle up front continues. And McCall will love it. He'll want this back marker behind him as long as possible. He does not want to give Patterson any opportunities to get on by. And this is where Patterson will want to get by on Rowe. Rowe going to go wide, give the room that he needs to do. Is he going to lift and give the space through to Patterson? He will. So Patterson getting on through. Good work coming out from Rowe. Ansel and Senaren. This is a battle for non-position. It will unfortunately just be picked up on our timing sheet. Ansel down in 23rd place. Will of course be promoted to 22nd. Bernard King currently running in 8th place. At the moment, Dion Cap is 3.5 seconds up the road from King in that McLaren. And just to touch on Dion Cap's drive here, I mean, we saw him have those earlier issues. He was dropped down the order, then he pitted quite early on, and I feel like that early pit stop did work out for him because he's made his way up to 7th. His teammate JC Krobler unfortunately out of the race here. So Asia Vista Racing relying on Cap in his McLaren, that number 321, to represent you and pick up some points for the team. And 7th place for the opening round will be a good place to take home after sort of the bit of a mess, I suppose, of what might have happened. I did just see him drop down the order, have absolutely no idea what happened in entirety, but you can only assume that something went right. Silverstone happened, and one of the many sweeping corners played victim. Shout out Spandex Cobra, also here in the chat. I thought that you guys did game nights on Thursday nights. Now I see that you're actually on Twitch watching racing, so I'm very concerned that you guys are not bonding with your regular gaming activities at this point. So Grayling and King on track battle for position. King making mistakes, and that will just allow, let's just actually go and see if we can jump back and see what really went down here. Helicam footage. So obviously Grayling in that Lamborghini, he's making his way back up through the order. Oh yeah, just getting sort of left wide open. I'm not sure if the netcode there was also a little bit funny, but yeah, just left wide open, and Grayling will get on by. King giving that away for free. Grayling also not having the greatest of races here tonight. A couple of incidents on track too. Some things that I'm sure will go through to the steward side of things. It happens, we're in a new season. Drivers need to learn what the limits are and where they can push things, what they're going to get caught out for. And of course we miss nothing here in eagle eye vision. Laughs in 10 different things that I've probably missed that will all be in the steward's inquiries anyway. But there is a steward's box, so if you guys are watching the stream and feel like you need to come back and submit a steward's inquiry, of course all the details there on Discord. This is RaceFace.Pro. They're round 1 for their season 2. Season 1 was a great success. Some tweaks have been made for Season 2. We've got longer races, shorter qualifying sessions. It's no longer bi-weekly. It happens every week on a Thursday at the same time at 8:30. So there come the track limit warnings. I did say before it's going to be something that need to be looked at, and Grayling here, Grayling, I'm not sure if I'm saying it anywhere remotely correct. Grayling, where I have to roll the R's, or Grayling, which is probably wrong because it's probably Grayling. Anyway, picking up a drive-through penalty for exceeding track limits, I can only assume. So that's going to be unfortunate. I mean, making your way back up through the order, 13 minutes to go, having to jump into the pits where, why does ACC take away my split times all the time? It's just utter nonsense, really. So yeah, he's going to drop down to probably P13 after having to serve this drive-through penalty, maybe even beyond that. So not a good thing for Grayling. Adding some insult to injury from a race that has not gone the right way in the Lamborghini. It's a hard car to drive. Very, very twerky indeed. Grayling going to be going into the pits to serve that drive-through. So goes in an 8th. Let's see where he comes on through. King will drive on through, take home a free position, as will Hutting as well. So that's the gap that's here. 9th and 10th place are just 2 seconds apart after 85 minutes of racing. It's really nice to see. I appreciate the effort that the drivers have gone into. Obviously, time and effort in practicing, getting dialed in, the setup work, etc. Unless you're buying things directly off the Coach Dave website, then of course you don't need to put in any effort. So if you guys are looking to pick up setups, those things hang out there. And I know that guys are driving with them in the league. So if you want to be competitive with some bought setups there, those are places that you can get hold of them. I always get people asking me where they can get setup work done and things like that. There are free ones that you can find on the internet that you're welcome to try out, or there's places on the MNR Discord where setups are shared if you want to go and try some of those out. But of course, these guys here will all be driving with their esports. I call them their esports setups. These ones are not going to be shared amongst the drivers. They've probably worked on them pretty hard. And yeah, it really goes to show that putting in time and effort can go a long way. A lot of these drivers breaking well within the 2-minute mark on their race pace. Actually, from drivers in positions first down to 12th are all sitting with 159s and 158s as race pace best laps. From 13th down to 17th, they've done 2 minutes and 2-minute 0.5s. Then we've got a couple of 201s. Brandon Kruger, he's actually done a 159. He's currently in 20th place. So there is if you guys are struggling with Twitch, when I stream the RaceFace races, they will be dual streamed over onto the YouTube channel as well. So RaceFace has a YouTube channel. I stream their races there. So if you are having problems with Twitch encoding and things like that, you can go over to the YouTube channel. If you are looking to join up for the RaceFace races, www.RaceFace.Pro is the place to go. They also have a Discord channel. You can go through there if you want to sign up and you're a race down. Batters is always willing to accommodate new drivers. He's a very friendly race organizer, so don't be scared of hitting up Batters Hugo. He also drives in the league, so you can evaluate if you are a good driver or not. And of course, if you do want to get involved, you just hit him up and you can get into running these races as well. So 9 minutes 50 on the clock, so let's call it 10 minutes of racing remain. Kieran Patterson seems to have lost out on his potential gap gain to McCall in front, and McCall is going absolutely ham on the flashes. He's got traffic for days in front of him. Khabe, Hugo, and Berger all on track, and I believe that Berger and Khabe are actually battling for position there. So Khabe and that's going to be unfortunate. So in the midst of it all, a battle ensues. It's a battle in the front of the pack as well as towards the back, and insane. Just, cars battling all across the way, and back markers doing the right thing, getting out of the way and letting the leaders get on by. Berger will be the next to be approached by McCall. On the flashes is the 888 red Porsche. And Berger pulls out of the way, lets McCall get the work done. And it's actually an ideal place for McCall to get past, because Patterson will be caught up behind Berger coming out onto Wellington. So let's see if Patterson has managed to get on by as well. He has. So good work from Berger to get out the way. He actually didn't impact too much. But that gap now 1.6 seconds between McCall and Patterson. Something that we saw being 0.3 spacing them out earlier on in the closing stages of this race. So McCall definitely getting his Porsche into a better gear, finding a fuel setting and an ECU map that perhaps was the go fast button for him. And Patterson got a lot of work to really do to catch back up. His brother Alan Patterson also doing great work, down in 17th place. He's got Corné Strauss in front of him by less than a second. So the Patterson brothers are on the attack to find positions towards the closing stages of the race. Versace, a race leader, in 3rd place behind the fellow pink liveried Porsche, is going to wait a second to make the move. But Strauss having a good drive here for EKZ Motorsports 2. Number 16 in the order. Number 55 on the car. The Audi serving Cornet well so far. Much better than the Lamborghini served him in previous leagues. And I'm glad to see he's switched up from maybe just the Aston. We sometimes get leagues with just too many Aston Martins here. Doesn't feel like that at all. Feels like there's a whole bunch of other cars, and it's great to see. So Patterson is going to be closing that gap right down to Strauss now. And they come up to the chicane. Strauss going to secure the inside line. Going to force Patterson to go wide around the outside. And Versace going to get by on one of the back markers that he needs to get by. Strauss still to deal with. And it's not really what Strauss wants to do at this point. He doesn't want to lift. He doesn't want to unnecessarily, give that position to Patterson behind. And at the same time, he doesn't want to impact Versace's race. So he's obviously just waiting for Versace to get a little bit closer on to the back of his Audi before he makes that move and pulls over to the side. 6 minutes remain of this race session here at Silverstone for round 1 of RaceFace.Pro. McCall leads, Patterson in second place, Arne Versace in third, Charles Wilkin in fourth, Francis Vogel in fifth, and Bruno Cadili in sixth. So Charles Wilkin, monster driver, monstrous drive coming out. I feel like you guys are going to think I'm biased towards Sarko, but it is not true. It is just because it is a beautifully bright colored Porsche that I'm biased towards, and he has had a great drive. And if you doubt me, you're just a hater. Wilkin has definitely had what I would rate one of the drives of the day for sure. Faced with adversity, similar to what happened to Jason Absma and Dominus for Barcelona last night, where the drive-through penalties issued on the start, and there's nothing that really can be done about it in the race. You just got to suck it up, deal with your drive-through penalty, and carry on going with it. So yeah, can definitely give some props over to Wilkin. Strauss and Patterson, that battle for 15th place that Strauss holds on so dearly to, continues to sort of make its way through. Patterson wants to find a way past Strauss. Coming up to the chicane, Strauss has decided, you know what, mate? No inside line for you. I'm having it. Oh, but Patterson, he's done it on the exit of the chicane nearly. Strauss needs to be careful on the defense. He's definitely been frightened by Patterson's ballsy moves, and will no longer be leaving such wide openings available for attack from the pink Porsche from behind. So Patterson needs to wait a little longer, but this is a great battle in the mid-pack between our Pro Division drivers. Important, of course, to get the run here for Strauss. The benefit that Patterson will get from the slipstream will always be there, but negating it by getting a monstrous exit yourself is always so important. Defending the inside lines where you can and setting yourself for corners later on. You can just see that Patterson is exploring lines far and wide to try and find a way past this Audi. Strauss getting a little bit squiggly on the exit. Kicks back around, will lose some exit speed. Patterson here may be able to get some rundown, but Cornet Strauss continues the defense. He's going to try and force him around the outside. Patterson, Tokyo Drift, is going to be sent packing back home. Strauss holds off and forces the error out from Patterson there. Great bit of driving from Strauss and EKZ up at the front there. I say up at the front of that battle. Patterson and Strauss, they are battling in 15th and 16th, but that's cool. I love the fact that drivers on track all around are having things to do, and this will just be Suneren getting lapped by the leaders here. Sometimes my lap split times go, look at me, I'm here, I'm getting no, I'm just getting lapped. So unfortunately that's what's happened with Suneren. Johan Grobler, not JC Grobler. Both Groblers actually having a bit of disappointing races for themselves. Grobler was having a good run. Top 10, nothing to scoff at, but you have to look at the potential of where things were and time-wise where Grobler was sitting. Great bit of driving coming out from Johan Grobler, so let us try and see just what he can do in later races as well. It's obviously round 1, plenty of things to happen. 10 rounds to go, or 9 rounds after this, right? 10 weeks in total. Is it 10 rounds? 9 rounds after this. My maths is bad. As soon as we get anywhere past 10:30, which is now 9 minutes ago, so we have 9 minutes worth of bad maths to account for. 2 minutes remain of our race at Silverstone. McCall still leads on Patterson, definitely not wanting things to go down to the line. I know that Robert McCall, Morgan's dad, big sim race fan, pushes his boys in the sim racing side of things, and a big supporter of the sim race community in general, will be jumping up and down at this point as Morgan leads around for what should be our second last lap. I mean, a minute to go from... Yeah, this could be our final lap, could be our second last lap. Shout out to Aim Zone in chat. That's my sponsor from Elite Host. If you guys are looking for, some web hosting needs there, Elite Host, your place to go. Thanks for popping through and popping into the chat here. You've caught the last closing sections of our race here. 50 seconds to go. I think we're going to fit in another lap, potentially. 40 seconds from here to the end. This could be our last lap. McCall, it's all down to timing. If McCall also doesn't get another lap in, this will be our final lap. And Patterson with 1.5 seconds down the road. That's what McCall won. Oh, it's going to be close. I think we're going to get another lap out of this. 20 seconds on the clock. I think we're going to a 40-second lap. You just can't. Are we going? There's 10 seconds to go on the clock. This is where you would want to... Final lap we go to. So with 5 seconds on the clock, Morgan McCall will go on to our 40-second lap here at Silverstone. And what a drive coming out from the young man himself. Let's see if I can get over to a little sneaky little other camera. Okay, we're not going to have the nice flowy webcam view, but we'll be able to give us a nice little shot at Morgan's Porsche. Max speed 888. I mean, I would be biased and say that the red and black livery is definitely, I approve of it. And with only a couple of corners left to go, Morgan McCall, an absolute phenomenal drive coming out. I'm not quite sure what happened at the start. I mean, there were incidents with Charles Wilkins, so I do not want to be quoted verbatim forever to say that this was... we have to see what happens with the stewards and all those type of things, but Charles Wilkins already had the drive-through penalty issued to him, so that would have been a pit stop coming out. The bit of contact that they had did send Charles Wilkins off into the sand trap. Morgan made it out of that. But from there, Morgan has led things away. Final corner for McCall. Down onto the start finish straight for the final time here at Silverstone. We've just hit 7 p.m. in-game time, and the flashing lights will come down. It crosses the line. Morgan McCall will take first place. Kieran Patterson will secure second. A great race from both those two drivers. And just down the road, we get to jump over to Arno Versace as well, who gets himself up onto the podium. A driver that I really do back. I really believe in his potential. And when he gets his focus and gets that consistency dialed in, a great driver overall as well. So finds himself third position. Will go down over the line. I believe that was Kraling parked on the line. Charles Wilkins will cross the line for, I believe this is a photo finish, 4th and 5th. Charles Wilkins and no, it was just Charles Wilkins. So Charles Wilkins will go across the line in 4th. I thought that was Vogel alongside, but it's Vogel in the black and green Aston Martin, really. That will take home 5th place. Let's just see who else we still have running around. We got Bruno Cadili coming around in 6th. Also, an unfortunate circumstance with the stop-go penalty having to be served, but a great showing coming back to find 6th. Dian Cup is Geo Vista Racing, their representative in the McLaren side of things, going to find 7th place. Great drive coming out from Dian here. His teammate JC Hrabla unfortunately sent back to the pits early. And Dian Cup will take home the points for 7th. Heinrich in that copper flavored 720S We'll round the final corners to take home 8th place, which will just leave us with Bernard King for 9th and Johan Grobler for 10th to round out the top 10. Let me just bring up the timetables for you guys to see the full broadcasting list. There we have it. If you guys did not see, so of course Morgan McCall takes home the victory. Kieran Patterson taking home 2nd place, and Arne Visaki with 3rd. Great drive and a great start to RaceFace.Pro. We'll be back next week, I believe. Yes, next week Thursday. Let me mute the in-game audio there. Let me go back over to my intermission screen here. Let me just thank you guys so much for coming through and hanging out. Shout out to the Twitch viewers, the YouTube video viewers on the RaceFace page. If you guys haven't liked and subscribed on that, please smash those buttons, support it, do what you do. Next week, get your parents to watch as well. You can tell them that I don't use the sweary words. I just get excited about Porsches. That's probably the worst part about me. But we will see you guys next week for some more RaceFace.Pro action.